Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Can you remember where we reached last week?
Yes, please. Highlights we ended at intentions, or let's say we're about to begin with intentions.
Is that
Intentions, me,
oh okay.
we started by explaining
Okay.
better than the time.
Um can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So intention, which specific area did we reach?
The explanation, please.
Where?
We started explaining
I started.
it. Yes, please. With the explanation.
Oh, okay. All right. Then okay. Um then you let's assume that we just we just started with it and then continue. Um I want to believe that by now you have been reading. The time is such that we will not be able to really cover so much. So most of the times you may have to ask questions regarding what you have read and what you don't understand so that we can move fast. Am I making sense to you? If you read and you come across anything you don't understand, when we meet, you ask so that it can be more interactive. It can be more interactive than teaching per se. When we make it that way, it will make us cover more or wider area. Um, am I clear to you? Because if always you have to sit down for me to come and explain things to you, we may not be able to reach far. So when you try to read on your own and then you come for us to engage each other, I think that would be a better preference. Anyway, let's continue. Intention, what we call niya in the Arabic language, could be defined as a determination to do something or execute a particular scheme of action at any material moment. A resolve to do something or execute any scheme of action at any material moment. It is not possible for anybody to execute any action without first intending. It is something that comes by default. It's a default, one of the natural and of course involuntary facilities that have been created and indeed given to us by the Creator to help us in the act of deciding. When you decide to do something, first you have to hatch an intention before that particular act is executed. Of course, some of us started school through the direction of our parents, and possibly when our parents wanted us to go to school, sometimes we may even fight them. We may either fight them or refuse to listen to them. Sometimes they would take us to school and we'll be crying. We wouldn't want to go to school, and so we'll be crying. We would, we would not be comfortable that we are being asked to go to school for reasons that are best known to us. So, of course, we may not have had any intention at the time we started schooling at the lower level, primary school. But after you finish secondary school, and now you are mature, although still, in some cases, our parents still play that role of directing our educational purpose. We have more say in what we do at the university at this time than our parents deciding for us. Whenever you decide to do something, you definitely have an aim. So you hatch that particular intention to facilitate the achievement of an aim. I want to study medical science because I want to be a doctor. Your intention is to become a doctor. Therefore, to become a doctor, the only way you can become a doctor is to study medical science. Some people would like to become lawyers. So, by hook or crook, they want to study law. Some people would like to become administrators. They want to become business professionals. And therefore, they want to study administration, become management. If they don't get the opportunity to study management, become, or administration, even when they get admission to other courses, they may eventually decide not to go. It has been happening. Many people eventually even forfeit their desire to educate themselves at the universities because they are unable to get the courses, or they are unable to get what they perceive to be capable of facilitating the achievement of their aims in the end. Their intention to go and study a particular course. And so when eventually they are not able to get admission to what they think can help them to fulfill their aim in future, they will not even go at all. Others go, but when they are in school, because they did not get what they were actually looking for, you will see them displaying some sort of very lackadaisical attitude, some sort of very unwelcome attitude that makes them eventually do well in the course they have been given. Many people don't want to be teachers. Since we are all teachers, let us use our own example. Many people don't want to be teachers, obviously because of the issue of salary. Salary is a serious problem for many teachers because, in point of fact, everybody wants to work to be able to get money to take care of himself or herself. So if you are going to do work that, simply put, does not really pay, nobody really will be very comfortable or enthusiastic doing a job that eventually might not even have the salary, or might not even turn out the salary to make them comfortable in life. For this reason, many of us, when we get to the College of Education, or we are given education courses to do, we don't seem very much committed because in the end, where are you going to land? You're going to be a teacher. And if you become a teacher, what are you going to get? So you see them displaying very lackadaisical attitude towards the program they have been given and they are running. Eventually, they will be joking, before you realize, third class, pass, whilst others are even withdrawn from the system. You understand that this is not to downgrade or denigrate those people who genuinely have been able to fight, but for other militating factors are not able to make very good class. But you and I also know that there are some people who have the resources, the mental resources and capabilities to be able to do very well, and yet because they are not comfortable or they are not really satisfied with what they are given, they just joke with their stay on campus, so that by the time they are graduating, you will see that they are not getting the best of degrees. These are the people we are interested in now, because obviously they have an aim of achieving a certain laurel in life, and they were not able to. I mean, their intention was not fulfilled because they were given the wrong course or what they consider to be wrong. So intention is something that determines or plays a very important role in a person's life. It is a person's commitment or decision to carry out an action in order to achieve a specific goal. Your commitment or decision to carry out an action in order to achieve a specific goal, a specific aim. It is one of the inner dimensions of a person's thought. This one is not outside, it is inside. So you alone have it. It is inside. That aids the person to premeditate. Again, it doesn't come afterwards. It doesn't come after you have executed that particular action. It comes before you execute that particular action. It is one of the inner dimensions of a person's thought that aids the person to premeditate an act before the act is eventually executed. Before you engage in a particular act, you hatch it before, you premeditate it, plan it, hatch it in your head, and carry it out eventually. Definitely not all of us would be able to or will have the opportunity to execute our own intentions because of other militating factors. The intention of a person is a default involuntary mechanism through which an individual directs the course of his deeds, his or her deeds, under any circumstance. Intention is more or less a director, something that directs whatever you expect at the end. So intention is at the beginning, and the aim or what you want to achieve is at the end. But you target that thing you want to achieve. An act without intention is certainly without an aim. Every act that does not have intention behind it definitely is aimless, because it is the intention that drives the aim. The intention determines what particular aim will be achieved. It is the intention that helps in the fulfillment of that particular aim that we hatch for ourselves in the execution of any particular act. It serves as the basis of all human behavior in Islam. Unfortunately, even though it is not everything that we intend that obviously we are able to fulfill, as far as Islam and its ethical values are concerned, intention plays a leading role in determining the success, in determining the ethical value of a human act as far as Muslims are concerned. Without an intention, a Muslim person's action is considered to be baseless and rewardless. Because as we said, The intention is what actually influences the aim, the achievement of the aim. If that intention is not there, then how do you expect to achieve an aim? The two of them are mutually inclusive. They are inseparable. So when you leave one, you lose the other. Why are Muslims thinking that work without intention is baseless? I told you that in Islam, you can't just say anything without making reference to any holy order. Because every affair of the Muslim is backed by law. Islam is a religion of laws. There is no particular action of a Muslim that doesn't have a legal backing, that doesn't have an ethical backing, that doesn't have a value backing it. According to a tradition of Prophet Muhammad, and remember, Muhammad was the one who laid the foundation of the current version of Islam. Many people think that Islam began with Prophet Muhammad. And so sometimes when, especially non-Muslims are talking, they want to let people believe that Islam only started during the time of Prophet Muhammad. If you are one of those who thinks that Islam started with Muhammad, so that probably even Christianity and Judaism came before Islam, then reconsider your decision. Because according to the Islamic tenets, according to the principles of Islam, Islam has been the religion that has been professed by virtually all prophets of God. Every prophet that has been sent according to the Quranic narrative, since the creation, when we say Quranic narrative, I don't mean something that is necessarily found in the Quran. Something that is either implied in the Quran or it is backed by some other narratives. Muslims use the Quran as a yardstick for judging all other literature. You understand that? So when something is said, even by a tradition, when a tradition promotes a particular philosophy, and that philosophy is not in opposition, that philosophy does not oppose any Islamic law, does not oppose any law of the Quran, once that tradition does not oppose any law of the Quran, such a tradition is considered to be Islamic. It means Muslims can follow it without any challenge. According to the Islamic or Muslim narratives, since the creation of the universe, God has sent onto this planet approximately 124,000 prophets. How many of these prophets do we even know? How many of the prophets are mentioned in the Bible, whether New Testament or Old Testament? So indeed, Quran talks more about prophets than they are available in many other literature. Even the first of man, Adam, according to the Quranic narrative, was given the message of truth. What is the message of truth? The message of truth is Tawheed, the message that promotes the oneness of Allah, the message that promotes the unity of God. All the prophets of God who have been sent onto this planet, including the first man to have been created, submitted to the will of Allah. None of the prophets who were sent into this world under the tutelage of Allah submitted to the will of Shaitan or Satan. So the arguments of Muslims is that Islam is a religion that is as old as humankind. But if you want to understand, the best thing for you to say is that Islam was perfected, and the Quran makes reference to it clearly, that Islam was perfected during the time of Prophet Muhammad. And there's a clear text of the Quran that indicates in no uncertain term that Islam got perfected. And the name Islam came to be given it during the time of Prophet Muhammad. So whoever thinks ignorantly that Islam is younger than Christianity and Judaism, historically, yes, because when we talk of history, history is interested in narratives that can be traced. History investigates narratives that can be traced. And therefore, historically, Muhammad was the one who founded historical Islam, because it was during his time that much of what we talk about today as Islam actually came into full fruition. But theologically, it is an error for one to say that Islam began with Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad himself came to meet Islam. If you listen to Muslims very well, they will tell you that Muhammad traveled even to the heavens to be given the 5 daily prayers that the Muslims do. And if you are familiar with the history of the Arabian Peninsula, you will realize that there was a group of individuals who already were worshiping God, who were worshiping God the same way Muslims do today. They were neither Jews nor Christians. They were known, according to the Quran, as Hunafa, Hanifs. These were people who inherited the Abrahamic system of belief in God. Yet they never professed Judaism. They never professed Christianity. So sometimes when you go to social media, you see some people, especially the genuflectors of prostrating, rising, bowing, and others. The early Jewish people also do the same thing. The early Christians also did the same thing, particularly, and it's still popular. It is still a popular way of worship among the Orthodox Christians in Ethiopia. And so many people are erroneously and ignorantly promulgating the news that Muslims copied from the Jewish people. Muslims copied from the Christians. Interestingly, these people will never stop and ask the question, is Islam also an Asian religion? Did Islam also begin in Asia? Nobody is an owner of a culture. So when any religious tradition begins in Ghana, or all the religious traditions that began in Ghana, if you have been very observant, you will see that they will share common characteristics. It doesn't mean they copy from each other. That is naive to say that a religion that began in Ghana share similar practices or beliefs means that one is copying from the other. That's intellectual bankruptcy. It means you are not thinking as a human being. Unfortunately, this is the kind of perception many people hold about Islam and its interaction with the earlier religious platforms. But I always tell people, if Islam really or Muhammad really copied the Jews and the Christians, or Muhammad really learned or studied from the Jews and the Christians, then Muhammad would have been a very bad student. Because nobody can tell me that the way Muhammad taught his religion is the same way the Jewish people taught their religion. Muhammad's conception of God is the same conception of God the Jewish people had. Or Muhammad's conception of God is the same conception the Christians had. Then he would have been a very bad student. He would have been a very unintelligent student who would have lost everything he was taught. Because what he was teaching is quite opposite to what both Christians and Jews do today, even though still there are visible symbols that could only be understood in the context or in reference, indeed, to all other religious traditions that existed, as they claim, before historical Islam. But today, as I said, correct that error. Islam did not start at the time of Prophet Muhammad. And when you read the Quran, it becomes clear that all the prophets of God, many of which we do not even know by name, all professed the belief in the unity of Allah. Even if they did not pray by Benkoto, Bensori, Bentina in their characterized versions today, they still professed the belief in God. And indeed, they were recognized as such. According to this prophet, who masterminded everything about what we call Islam today and whose teachings, not only his teachings anyway, and that is why Muslims accept teachings from any other religious tradition, provided those teachings do not oppose the Quran. Because Muslims believe that all other religious, or there are other religious traditions that necessarily might not have the Muslim book, but who also received books from Allah. And therefore, if those religious traditions do not uh, believe in Islam or do not believe in the literature of Islam or of the Quran, the fact that they also received a revelation from God, Muslims accept them. Whether they accept Muslims or not should not be a determinant for Muslim acceptance of these religious traditions. According to Prophet Muhammad, in one of his statements, he said, surely actions are but by intention, and for every person is what he intended. Actions are but by intention, and for every person is that which he intended. Consistent with this particular tradition, which is indeed a mutawatir tradition. When we say a tradition is a mutawatir tradition, it means that it is a kind of tradition that is so popular among Muslims, that is so popular in the centers of learning among Muslims, that almost everybody knows it. When you go to Nigeria and you mention this expression in Arabic language, إنما أعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى. Prophet said, acts are but by intention, and therefore everybody shall be rewarded only in accordance with that which he or she intended. When you go to Nigeria, you quote this tradition, the Muslims in Nigeria should be aware. They are indeed aware. When you go to Egypt and you quote this tradition, the Muslim scholars, even if they don't believe that this tradition is sound, they will know that indeed there is a certain tradition that is quoted from Muhammad like this. When you go to Medina and you quote this tradition, the people of Medina definitely will know. I don't mean Medina in Accra. I mean Medina in Saudi Arabia. When you quote this tradition, the people there definitely know that the tradition you are quoting is believed to have been quoted from Prophet Muhammad. When you go to Mecca, the same thing. You go to Baghdad, the same thing. You go to Syria, the same thing. Damascus, the same thing. Yemen, the same thing. It is so popular that everywhere you go, people are familiar with such a tradition. Such a tradition is what we refer to as mutawatir. So this kind of tradition indicates in no uncertain terms that human actions are determined ethically by the intention behind it. So that, for example, according to this principle, the acceptability and of course the sources from where this tradition, the sources, the sources from where this tradition is quoted include the collections of Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Uh-huh. Because If I don't ask before you realize, people are not hearing me, and then I will be talking. Anyway, meanwhile, my phone is even off. The phone in which my SIM is inside is off because of the light off. Anyway, so according to this principle, the acceptability of a human act largely depends on the quality of the intention behind that particular act. The assumption is that a good act is definitely backed by an acceptable intention, while a bad act is backed by a bad intention. Take, for example, somebody is standing behind a house or behind a structure, and then this person sees a snake passing, a big snake like that passing, and this person picks a stone, a heavy stone, planning to hit the head of this snake. And immediately after throwing this stone, a small boy who is running passes by this area, and then the stone inadvertently hits the boy's head. And then the person bleeds and collapses and eventually dies. Do you think it will be fair in our assessment of this particular act for the individual to be accused or to be charged with murder? It will not be fair to charge such an individual with murder. Definitely. Why? Because the person did not, simply put, intentionally decide to kill the person who was hit in the head. His intention was to, of course, the aim the person hatched was to actually hit the head of the snake. And so by the time he intended, what he intended was hitting the head of that particular snake. But because of accident, when this particular stone was cast, what happened? Somebody's head was hit, and the person died instantly. You understand that? So that person, consistent with what I'm saying, cannot in any way be accused of killing a human being, because the original intention was not actually to kill. On the other hand, or inversely, a small boy is passing around the same place, and a person is standing at another side, and that person sees this small boy and picks up a stone and then throws that stone so violently with the objective of hitting the head and indeed killing this boy. But unfortunately or fortunately, after throwing the stone, a snake also appears, and the stone misses its target and hits the head of the snake, and the snake dies. Again, in the court of human beings, everybody will praise this person who killed the snake. Oh, you have done well. But for you, this snake would have killed this boy. Oh, wonderful. You are worthy of award. You have done very well. The way you just killed the snake, wow. Congratulations. You have done very well. We are proud of you, etc., etc. But you and I know that consistent with the intention that the person has, which we are not privy to, we can't see. That intention the person has, we cannot see it. But that intention directs the person. And the direction the person was given was that he would unalive the boy. But because of accident, once again, this boy escaped that accident. And rather, he was saved by a snake that was passing. Well, when you assess, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Ah, my alarm sounded, so I thought I've been cut. When you want to assess these two acts that these two individuals engaged in, definitely you can see there are differences in terms of the ethical legitimacy of the actions that the person or the two people engaged in. On the one hand, the person intended in his heart to kill a snake and ended up killing a human being. But on the other, a person also intended to kill a human being and ended up killing a snake. Definitely, all of them are not going to have the same level of reward. The one who intended to kill a snake, his own action is more ethically legitimate than the one who decided to kill a human being, but rather ended up killing a snake. His own action, which appears in the court of humanity as very good and ethically good, rather turns out to be ethically unjustifiable standard. I hope I'm making sense. The assumption is that that's why we are saying the acceptability of a human act largely depends on the quality of the intention. Whether a human act is acceptable or not actually depends on the quality of the intention behind it. The assumption is that a good act is backed by an acceptable intention, while a bad act is backed by a bad intention. And since human acts are determined, according to this prophetic tradition, by the quality of intention behind it, it is better. Muslims always hatch very good intentions. When you hatch an intention which is good, it legitimizes the kind of activity that intention helps to fulfill. Bear in mind that everything that Muhammad said, everything that is found in the Quran, has what we call circumstance behind it. Muhammad will not say anything without any condition. Quran will not say anything for its sake. Anything that Quran has said has a legitimate ground, has a rational ground. When Muhammad and his handful of converts were migrating to Medina, there was a certain young man, who was going with them. Apparently, this man had a girlfriend among the Muslims. His friend, a female friend, was a Muslim. This female friend had converted to Islam, and he was going with the Muslims. But this man had not converted to Islam yet. You know what we call love. Love can be very funny. Because the girlfriend was actually going with them, the man decided that no, I can't live without my girl. So instead of remaining behind, this man decided to also take the risk to migrate with the Muslims into Ethiopia. Then into Medina. Then somebody drew the attention of Prophet Muhammad. That prophet, see, among us going is somebody who is not actually a Muslim. Even if he's a Muslim, this person is not a Muslim at heart, but he's just going with us. It is at this time that Prophet Muhammad issued this statement that work innama amalu binniyat wa innama likulli amri'in ma nawa. Work is but by intention. So every man shall be rewarded according to that which he intended, he or she, he intended. So immediately it becomes clear that if this person had the objective of migrating for the sake of Allah, his migration should be understood in that context. If that person had the objective of migrating for the sake of something else, maybe for the sake of his girlfriend, then definitely the ethical value of his migration should be understood in the context of this new objective that he has had for himself, etc., etc. The implication is that intention has specific things to achieve. What is the importance of intention as far as the religious life of the Muslim is concerned? Religiously, intention has the following significance. One, intention helps to differentiate between the forms of worship. Yes, sir. Intention helps to differentiate between the forms of worship. How? What one intends to do is differentiated by the intention behind it. For example, in the acts of worship among Muslims, one can fast, one can pray. When a person is fasting, the intention behind this fasting determines whether this intention is obligatory or it is not obligatory. You are aware that there is an obligatory fasting during the month of Ramadan. In the whole month of Ramadan, according to the Quran, anybody who witnesses the month of Ramadan must fast. So if you are a Muslim, once the month of Ramadan approaches, it is your duty to make sure you fast. If you don't fast during the day in the month of Ramadan, then remember, you have left an ethically questionable kind of lifestyle, or you have left a kind of responsibility unfulfilled in your life, because it's compulsory for every Muslim to fast during the month of Ramadan. So when somebody comes to pray or hatch an intention to fast, that intention will determine whether the fasting that is going to engage in is the compulsory one or it is not. Or better still, somebody who decides to fast in the month of Ramadan hatches an intention that is different from the person who is deciding to fast voluntarily. Somebody can decide to fast voluntarily. What do I mean by voluntary fasting? According to a tradition of Prophet Muhammad, God, remember, none of us was living. All of us depend on the history of Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad never ate on a Thursday. Muhammad never ate on a Monday, unless he was sick. He fasted on a Monday and fasted on a Thursday. Every Thursday, every Monday, Prophet Muhammad fasted. So some Muslims have decided to also join him. If you have the strength to be able to fast, every Monday you can fast. Every Thursday you can fast. But it is not compulsory. This one has not been declared as compulsory anywhere, either by Prophet Muhammad himself or by Allah himself in the Quran. So it is not compulsory. If you want to fast, if you feel like fasting, fine, you can engage in it. But of course, Quran or modern science rather has indicated clearly that Fasting, or what we call today intermittent fasting, is very important for every human being. So you can see that Islam put in place very important steps to ensure the improvement in human health. Several centuries ago, what modern science is struggling to gain today, Islam put in place several centuries ago. All these things are supposed to teach you lessons. Prophet Muhammad engaged in what we call intermittent fasting, not by refusing to eat in the morning, not by refusing to eat in the afternoon and eating in the evening, or eating once in the morning and fasting for the rest of the day. Prophet Muhammad decided to choose a particular day during which he will not eat. So in his intermittent fasting, Muhammad will fast on every Monday. Muhammad will fast on every Thursday. Let us look at it this way. The first day of the month on the Islamic calendar is Sunday. In Arabic, the days are simply named as day 1. Yawm al-Ahad. Yawm al-Ahad simply means day 1, and that is Sunday. Yawm al-Ithnain. Al-Ithnain is Monday, which simply means day 2. As-Thulathai. As-Thulathai simply means day 3, and that is Tuesday. As-Thulathai, day 3, that is Tuesday. Al-Khamis. Al-Khamis simply means day 5. In Arabic, Hamsa means 5. So Al-Khamis means day 5. Al-Juma or Al-Jumu'ah means Friday. That is day 6. As-Sabtu, which is the Sabbath. This one is derived from the Jewish name for Saturday. As-Sabtu. Among our brothers and sisters who are Dagomba, who are Wala, who are Gonja, and many others, you hear names like Lahari. Lahari, a Sunday born. Lahari means Al-Ahad. These are all derived from the Arabic language. Lahari, the name given to a Dagomba man, or Dagomba, what do you call it? Born Sunday. Lahari is Arabic. Al-Ahad. Tani, even in Hausa, similar thing is available. Similar names are given in Hausa. Tani, that is Isnain, Al-Isnain, which is Monday. A Monday born Tani is Isnain, 2, day 2. Talata, Talata, whether in Hausa or, those of you who are from northern origin, you know these names. Talata. Talata is Salasa in Arabic. As-Sulasai. And which day is that? Tuesday. Larba. Larba is Al-Arbi. I think I jumped one of the days when I was mentioning them. Al-Arbi. That is day 4, which is when? Day 4 is Wednesday. You understand that? Day 4 is Wednesday. Al-Arbi, that's day 4. So a person called Larba is Al-Arba'a, 4. That's 4 in the Arabic language. And then Al-Khamis. Lamisi, that is Al-Khamis, day 5, which is Thursday. Then Al-Jumu'ah, Yom Al-Jumu'ah. Everybody knows what Muslims do on Friday. Yom Al-Jumu'ah means the day of congregational prayer. Among the Hausa, Danjuma. Danjuma is somebody who is born on a Friday. These are all names that have been taken from the Islamic tradition. And of course, assembly, that is Sabtu, the Saturday, they are all derived from the Arabic language. And they have been used and used comfortably, so much so that people don't even know how these names came by. You understand that? But so the point of significance is that Sunday is day one. So after day one, Yom al-Ithnain, day two, Prophet Muhammad will fast. So whatever food he ate on day one, when he fasts on Tuesday, by Tuesday, his blood sugar would have gone down. Because once you deny the body the opportunity, once you deny the body food, remember, when they say your blood sugar has gone up, we are not talking about a particular sugar you took. The sugar that increases your blood sugar is not the physical sugar or raw sugar you take into your body. Far from it. Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The blood sugar that we talk about is not about the physical sugar that you grow. When you buy, you prepare tea, you put so much sugar in it, and that will shoot your blood sugar. That is not what is meant by blood sugar. The blood sugar, what increases the sugar in your blood, is rather the food, the carbohydrate that you take into your system. The point of significance, of course, the blood sugar can also be shot up by the physical sugar you eat anyway, but that is not a determinant of your blood sugar, but the carbohydrate that you take in. You understand that? So when you don't eat in the morning, the whole day you fast, what is going to happen is that since you are not going to put any food in your body, that will force this thing to come down. That will force the sugar in your blood to come down. So when your blood sugar comes down, Tuesday throughout the day, you will eat. But in addition to fasting, Muhammad will never eat to his brim. The rule is that when you eat, divide your stomach into three. Let one part occupy food. Let another part occupy water. Let the remaining part give you the opportunity to breathe. If you eat by dividing your stomach into three, you have to steady yourself and know the size of your stomach. Definitely, all of us don't have the same size of stomach. Some people have bigger stomach, others have smaller stomach. When you go to restaurants and you see people eating, sometimes you wonder, where is this guy taking this food to? His stomach or where? You don't all have the same size of stomach. And it doesn't matter whether you are fat or you are slim. It will shock you that those people who are slim are even more are even able to do more justice to food more than those who are fat. You see that? So it is not determined by whether you are slim or you are fat. If you are fat, you can eat. If you are slim, you can eat. Whatever the case, know the kind of food that loads, or the quantity of food that loads. Thank God, when you are eating, Allah has created you such that when you get to the point where your stomach is full, you yourself will feel it. The gauge is in yourself. It's in your senses. You will feel that your system is full. So stop at this time. And it is advisable not to drink water immediately after you finish eating. You are destroying yourself, because it will make the kidney incapable of siphoning the blood, taking the toxic substances in the food that you ate out. It becomes full. Even though this same kidney needs water to be able to do that job. If you want to take water, rather take water before you eat. And don't take water that is cold before you eat. Of course, these are scientific advice and all that. The point of significance is that when you fast on Monday, the food you ate on day one, Not just day one. I've also told you that Muhammad fasted on Thursday too. So when he's fasting on Monday after the fasting, Tuesday he will eat moderately. Wednesday he will eat moderately. Thursday he will eat moderately. So that how many days? 3 days. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Tuesday, Wednesday. 2 days. He has had 2 days to be able to eat moderately. After these 2 days, Muhammad will fast again on Thursday to free the excess of fat, excess of sugar, etc., etc. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You and I know that on Friday, the day is virtually divided. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. How many days? 3 days. Muhammad will eat moderately. And what he was able to eat moderately, Muhammad will dispel it and give his system the opportunity to recover on Monday again. So you see the trend of his so-called intermittent fasting. If you're able to do intermittent fasting this way, it will help your system. But it's not telling you that because I eat or fast intermittently, I will eat to the brim always. No, it is a way to help the system, etc., etc. The point of significance is that if you are fasting or someone who is fasting on the day, what do you call it, in the month of Ramadan, will have an intention that is definitely different from the one that is fasting, that is making a voluntary fast. In much the same way, prayers. When a worshipper enters the mosque, or even in his own house, this worshipper tries to do 2 types of prayer. There is one that we call fard, as we will get to know very soon. One of them is called fard. Fard is a compulsory prayer. So the 5 daily prayers that Muslims do, they are considered as furud. These are compulsory prayers that every Muslim must actually engage in. If you don't pray the 5 daily compulsory prayers, it means you have an ethical issue. You have a responsibility you have not been able to discharge towards your Creator. So that one is just one strand of prayer. But aside from these prayers, we also have voluntary prayers. These voluntary prayers are normally in twos, 2, 2, 2. You do them in 2 layers, 2 units, 2 units, 2 units. A worshipper who comes to the mosque to pray can decide to do 2 units of prayer before settling down. Or he can rise to do 4 units of prayer. Or he can decide to do 6 units of prayer. Or he can do 8 units of prayer. Or he can do 10 units of prayer. All these are voluntary. Although some of them are also supererogatory. The one who is praying the voluntary prayer definitely hatches an intention that is different from the one who is doing compulsory prayer. In all the instances, it is the intention a person hatches before starting the prayer that determines the type of prayer that person is interested in. The second importance of intention is what we call differentiating the one for whose sake a particular act is committed. When a person engages in a particular act, that act helps to determine the person or the being for whose sake that particular act is engaged in. How? When a person commits an act, that act is committed, one, for the sake of Allah. Somebody can commit a particular act for the sake of Allah. Or, in fact, if a person engages in an act just for the sake of Allah, that is the best kind of act. Because everybody is expected to do things for the sake of Allah. But we do so many things not necessarily for the sake of Allah. We might do something for the sake of humanity. We do it in service to humanity. That one is not on the same pedestal or does not attract the same reward as the one that is done for the sake of Allah. But that one too is better than something that is done perfunctorily. When we say something is done perfunctorily, it means that we do something just because one is forced by circumstance to do something. Those of us who are in the cities, sometimes you'll be walking. Somewhere at the middle of your journey, somebody will accost you. That person will ask you, "Good morning, sir." And the person will be wearing a political suit. Then he will tell you, "Please, do you live around?" "Oh, yeah. Do you come from this place?" "Oh, yeah, I come from here." "Okay. Please, I would need your assistance. I came to visit my brother here. Unfortunately, when I came, I didn't call him before coming because I thought I would meet him. Unfortunately, when I came, I'm told he has also traveled. Unfortunately, the little money that I brought is what I use for my Lord fare. As it is now, I'm not able to, go back because I don't have enough money for Lord fare. So I was just wondering if you could possibly help me with some, 50 Ghana to be able to take a car back home." Sometimes, most of the time, they will tell you the amount they need, but not what you have. If you are lucky, they will tell you just anything that you can help me with. You give this person this money, you move forward. When you go where you went and you are coming, you may end up meeting the same person doing the same thing with another person, and sometimes it will shock you that he may end up even meeting you again and telling you the very thing he told you earlier. Because the Arabs have a proverb: if you want to be a liar, you need a retentive memory. You can't be a liar when your memory is weak. You need a very strong retentive memory to be able to be a lawyer, to be a liar. Sorry. You understand that? So, such circumstances, a gentleman is in need of help. Then the worst part of it is that when you turn your head or you turn to your back, you see somebody approaching you. Depending on the kind of person you are in that society in which you live in, somebody needs help and the person is approaching you. And you see people around you all observing you. Saying that I don't have or I won't give it to you would be too embarrassing for you, given your present position in society. And therefore, you might end up parting with some amount of money. Not because you ordinarily want to give to this person, but because you are forced by circumstances to do something. This kind of act is not bad on its own, because Allah says, وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ, whichever way, if I'm quoting it well. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ, وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. Allah says, whoever does an atom's weight of good shall see it. So also who does an atom's weight of evil shall see it. There is no single act a person will do that Allah will not reward him. So even if one is forced by circumstance to do something, Allah will still reward that person. So in this instance, although you executed an act not out of self volition, you are forced by circumstance to part with such an amount of money, the mere fact that you still did what is good, Allah will reward you. But then, the reward Allah will give you will not be the same as the one done for the sake of Himself or for His sake. We can also do something for the sake of any other than God. There are times that somebody can do something for the sake of maybe a deity, especially those of us who come from villages, or not just even villages, those of us who don't have very solid belief in God. Even if you have a solid belief in God, sometimes when you are befallen by certain afflictions, certain calamities, your belief might be shaken. Not everybody will have the physical or spiritual wherewithal to be able to resist certain temptations in life. Let us look at the situation that Prophet Ayub, Nabi Ayub, was somebody who was blessed as a rich man, a devoted worshipper of God. Allah also blessed him with wealth. So much. Unfortunately, and as fate will have it, Satan engaged in a contest with God. Satan inquired from God whether Job, was worshiping him because of what Job was expecting to get from him, or because Job was in love with God. And God challenged Satan, hey, my worshiper is worshiping me because he loves me. He loves me. He worships me because of the love he has for me. Satan challenged God. Then maybe you are doing the wrong thing, or you are thinking the wrong way. If you think Job is worshiping you because of the love, so-called love for you, then strip him naked of his wealth and make things difficult for him and see whether he will still continue to worship you. Allah wanted to prove Satan wrong. And so he befell Job with a calamity, leading to the loss of virtually all his wealth. Job, a very successful man who was comfortable by all standards, within a short time lost all his property, all his wealth. On top of that, Job also caught a very infectious disease that only him could suffer. Job developed sores all over his body. And eventually, he still continued, despite all this, he still continued to remember the name of his creator, to worship the creator, until such a time that the very tongue that Job was using to remember, or as it were, to always praise his creator, also got infected with that particular calamity. At this point, even his wife, in fact, all his wives actually divorced him and left. Because as it often happens in human life, women are not wired to suffering. So when Job began to go through that toil, none of the wives, in fact, almost all his wives left him for a comfortable life. If I'm not going to enjoy comfortable life, I shouldn't suffer as well. So the wives left, except one. This one woman actually had a lot of property herself. This woman, because of her faithfulness to the husband, decided to sell many of her own wealth to help the husband, to such an extent that her own wealth also finished, and her husband was still not being free from the affliction. Eventually, what happened? Job, the wife had to even sell the hair. She would just cut the hair to go and sell, to be able to get some money to come and take care of the wife, of the husband, sorry. At this time, it is not food. At this time, it is not even medicine that will help Job to be able to live. It is rather food, what to eat. Cry was becoming difficult for Job. But through the help of Allah, Job was still able to remember his God. He was able to always praise, celebrate the praise of his Lord, until when the mouth that he would use to commemorate or celebrate this praise, this mouth also got infected. It is at this time that the wife told Job, "Why don't you curse this God and die?" But Job was still resilient. He didn't give in because of the challenge. And God now saw. Job is reported to have prayed to God, "God, I have accepted all the challenge you have entrusted unto me. But then, this mouth that I use to celebrate your praise, if this mouth also gets infected, then how am I going to celebrate your praise?" This harmless question, whose weight exceeded conjecture, struck the heart of Allah, so much so that Job eventually was declared free. So sometimes when somebody falls victim to afflictions, if you don't take care, you may end up thinking that somewhere, somehow, an envious clansman or clanswoman is behind your suffering. If that happens, you may end up imploring the services of somebody who knows about the supernatural. And in so doing, you may end up attaching or associating partners with God. This is the kind of practice that normally is against the central teachings of Allah or the central teachings of Islam. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
Doc.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. So, but of course, sometimes some people are not able to withstand some of these things. So you may go and see a certain Okonfo, and Okonfo will tell you that, this thing that is happening to you is your grandfather, your grandmother, an elderly man or elderly woman who has paid his or her due and is just waiting for the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take him away or her away. This Okonfo will tell you that he is the one who or she is the one who is behind your suffering. So to be able to reverse it, you need to bring a cow for them to sacrifice it and use it to wash whatever debt such a person may have placed on you, whatever curse such a person may have placed on you. And because your belief in God is shaky, because you don't believe that God is capable of helping you out of every calamity, may God protect us from calamity itself, because we don't know how we ourselves will react. You yourself will also go and buy a cow with the hope of going to free yourself, because nobody is born or wired to suffering. So you end up going to do something for the sake of no other than God, or for the sake of any other, than God. Here, you do it not because you believe God is the one who is demanding that kind of cow. You are going to give it to a deity to enjoy it, and then when you finish, that deity in return will also free you from that spiritual bondage somebody has placed you in. This is what we are referring to, and that is against the central teaching of Allah and the Prophet, the central teaching of Islam, for that matter. You can also do something for the sake of both God and humanity. This one is also not bad. But Allah has said in His revealed books, which was later amplified by Prophet Muhammad himself, but that Allah says that if anybody does something for my sake, and for the sake of any other being, I will reward him only as if he did it for the sake of that particular being. Because Allah does not want any being to be associated with him. But of course, if you do it for the sake of God and humanity, still, you have done good. Except that God will bless you or God will reward you only for the sake of humanity, not for his sake. But if you do something for the sake of humanity, that's excellent. At least it is better than doing something for the sake of any other than God. Whatever the case, the point of significance is that all these things will be determined. The ethical value of a particular act will be determined whether it is done for the sake of Allah, for the sake of humanity, for the sake of any other than God, or for the sake of Allah and humanity, perfunctorily or whatever. All of them will be determined by the intention behind it. The intention that the person hatches will determine whether it was done for the sake of Allah, for the sake of humanity, or for whoever's sake. In Islam, the concept of intention has a number of multifaceted dimensions. Because from the Islamic ethical point of view, intending a thing and executing an act are two different things that are judged differently on their own merit. When you intend something, that is one. When you execute that particular act, that is two. The two are not the same. You can intend something, as our earlier analysis indicated. You could intend something, but when it comes to executing it, that particular act, you may fail in executing it, or you may fail in achieving the aim that you set for yourself. It may be the opposite of that particular aim, but the fact remains that once you have already intended, even if you don't achieve that particular aim, even if you don't succeed in executing it the way it will help you to achieve that aim, still, once you have intended something, you will be rewarded only in accordance with that which you intended earlier. So accident per se does not really discourage a person from achieving his aim in Islam. That's the point of significance. Every intention has a consequence. Simply put, in secular ethics, there is the rule that wait. Okay, we're here. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. In secular ethics, there is the rule that the end justifies the means. The end justifies the means. According to this principle, an act that obtains a desirable effect or outcomes, exonerates or decriminalizes any wrongdoing committed to attain it, the effect. When they say the end justifies the means, the principle of the end, or the maxim that the end justifies the means, is the opposite of what intention actually stands for. According to this principle, when somebody hatches a particular plan, it is the outcome of that plan, or when somebody hatches a particular, or when somebody engages in a particular, according to this principle, it is the outcome of that particular plan that will determine whether that particular act was halal or was haram. So that, for example, when the person threw the stone with the objective of killing a snake, but there was an accident, and as a result of that accident, the stone hit a human being and that person died. According to this maxim, that person has engaged in an ethically questionable act. That's what the person was saying, or that's what this principle says. Once the end is bad, the whole of the act as well is bad. On the other hand, the second scenario, which involves the situation where the man threw the stone for the purpose of killing a human being, but then it escaped, and a snake came to receive it with its head, and so that the boy was saved. According to this principle, that particular act was ethically legitimate. But of course, you know that this is quite problematic in point of fact. The doctrine of the end justifying the means is what is also known as consequentialism or teleology. Consequentialism or teleology. Consequentialism is a normative ethical theory that upholds that the consequence or outcome of an act serves as the ultimate basis for judging the ethical value. That is the rightness or wrongness of that act. So, as far as consequentialists are concerned, it is not the act itself. It is not the means to committing the act. It is not the nature of the act, but rather it is the consequence, the end product of that act that determines the ethical value of that particular act. For the consequentialist, or from the consequentialist, good morning. From the consequentialist, who about? Okay. From the consequentialist point of view, an ethical or morally right conduct is the one that produces a good outcome. So if any particular act produces a bad outcome, irrespective of what was done to accomplish that particular aim, irrespective of what was actually committed towards that particular objective or that particular outcome, such an act cannot be considered to be ethically correct. Therefore, if the outcome is bad, then that criminalizes the entire act, including the means to committing it as well. But that is quite problematic. The implication is that if the intended consequence of an act is judged to be ethically correct, any procedure or means for achieving or causing this consequence is also ethically right, which is problematic. So that if somebody has a liver, somebody has a kidney, somebody has a pancreas, somebody has a what do we call it? A lung, which can all be harvested. One person is having a liver problem. One person is having a kidney problem. One person has a lung problem. So that about 10 people have organ failure. And one person has all these organs. According to the consequentialist, we can just harvest the organs of one person and possibly kill him, in fact, unalive him, in the name of saving 10 people. As far as the consequence of saving 10 people is achieved, as far as consequentialists are concerned, such an act is ethically legitimate. Does it make sense? Unfortunately, this is what actually governs most decisions in politics. Because of the security of Israel, see the mess that is being caused in the whole of the Middle East. If you count the population of Israel and you compare it with the kind of mess that is taking place in the whole of the Middle East, you could see that that kind of action is only understandable in the context of consequentialism. It is the eventual outcome of Israel being safe that directs every kind of act of aggression in the whole of the Middle East. Damn the consequence. 100,000 people can be killed once just one nation can be saved. That kind of act of aggression is considered to be ethically legitimate. America decided to descend on Iran. Ayatollah must go. Ayatollah must go. Ayatollah must go. Because of one person, more than 20 Tomahawk missiles were dropped on a residence believed to contain Ayatollah and his chief officials. Look at the number of people who have been killed in this encounter, all because of the selfish attempt of Israel to achieve a so-called peace, which is never realized, even in spite of all this. Israel engaged in all these wars with the objective of ensuring peace. And yet, several years or several months after the loss of several lives, the Middle East is still not safe. Israel itself is still not safe. So what is the point? That's the question all of us will have to ask. Unfortunately, that is the belief of consequentialists. So as I said, if the intended consequence of an act is judged to be ethically correct, what we are intending to achieve is correct. Whatever means, whatever evil that is committed in achieving what we want to achieve, of course, our intention is to ensure there is peace. Once that peace is achieved, even if the whole world will die for us to live, damn the consequence. In 1945, 6th August, 2 atomic bombs were dropped on 2 cities in Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, all because of Japanese involvement in the Second World War. America wanted to silence Japan, and therefore, very deadly weapon, a weapon nobody has been able to resist. No property, nothing, whether building, whether plants, or even the soil, has never been able to resist. America dropped it on the 6th of August, 1945, which virtually signaled the end of the war. The question is, what did America gain in that particular atrocity, which they have not even learned from? In the war on Iran, America was still considering dropping nuclear weapons on Iran. Imagine. So that what? In an infamous statement, Donald Trump was heard saying that a whole civilization was going to be wiped off the surface of the earth. Is it yours? That is humanity. So as far as the consequentialists are concerned, it is not the act that is committed to achieve a particular laurel, but the consequence. If the end product is good, damn the consequence. You can use any means to achieve whatever you want to achieve. That particular act is considered to be ethical. On the other hand, if the end product is bad, irrespective of whatever good you did in achieving that bad outcome, once that outcome is bad, invariably, that particular act is as well judged to be ethically incorrect. Consequentialism does not therefore find favor in the Islamic ethical reasoning. Why? Because obviously, with the things we have been mentioning, you don't expect consequentialism to make any sense. Because although, as we will see later, the Islamic behavior, the Islamic concept of intention itself has a certain leaning towards what we call intention or towards what we call consequence. It doesn't mean that once the consequence is acceptable, necessarily that act is ethical. Because as I said, or as we indicated earlier, the consequence could be very good, but then the outcome, the act itself might be ethically questionable. In Islam, every level of an act, including the consequence, is judged on its own merit. Muslims don't believe in the fact that once you intend to do something good, which you consider to be good, necessarily whatever act or whatever evil you commit in achieving that particular act is also halal. So that if you kill one person to save about 10 people, because you have saved 10 people, which is good, necessarily the act of killing one person is also good. No. Why? Because every level of an act, the act itself, the nature of the act, the means to committing the act, as well as the consequence of that act, should all be part and parcel in the assessment of the ethical legitimacy of that particular act. So that, for example, if at the time America was planning to drop those tomahawks, very deadly weapons, if America asked the question of removing Ayatollah and ending up killing 100,000 people, it is unethical. Perhaps they could have considered that, of course, it is good to remove this man, but hey, it is not possible to remove this man without causing so much harm to other human beings. Can Ayatollah remain in Iran permanently? That is foolishness. It is foolish to think that Ayatollah will rule Iran permanently. The other question is, after removing Ayatollah, does Iran end? It is equally foolishness to think that after removing Ayatollah, Iran will end. These are all things that could be understood in the context of ethics. So when you are taking a move to act, first ask yourself, this decision I'm going to take, is it going to be an end to this problem I'm going to solve? Prophet Muhammad, in several of his narratives, indicated that when a calamity befalls a city, let all those people who are in that city remain there. Tawakkal, what we call tawakkal or tawakkul. Tawakkal ala Allah, trust in God. Never think that in Accra there's a certain contagious disease which is spreading very fast. And therefore, I don't want to die from this disease, so I'm running away to maybe my hometown. Remember, those people who are living in Accra, not everybody has died. Not everybody will be caught by that disease. That's number one. Number two, by the time somebody will report a case of that particular disease, logically, scientifically, it is possible that many other people may have been infected unknowingly. So when you think that you are running away, you end up rather going to infect people where you are going, so that you are going to rather introduce the disease where you are going. That's number two. Number three, if you have not been able to show symptoms, probably it is because your system has been able to develop resistance to the disease. Because of where you are, one, because of antibodies, two, because of environmental circumstances. Maybe because where you are, there are certain circumstances that give you some immunity to that particular disease. Because of facilities you have, because of things you take into your stomach. Now, when you eventually leave and go to a place where those facilities that gave you immunity where you were living earlier, what do you think will happen? You will die, rather. You are now going to be infected, because definitely you can't tell me that the clinic in your village knows more about that disease you are running away with from Accra than the hospitals in Accra. Logically, what it is trying to tell you is that remain where you are, because this is the place where the people know the virus or the disease that people are suffering from. So when you get caught, they will be in the best position to understand what is afflicting you more than yourself, so that they can help you and prefer the right solution to this problem. If you run away and go to your village people don't know, or the new place you are going may not know how the disease manifests itself. So by the time they will get to know, hey, disease now they are complaining about in Accra, that is what this guy is suffering from. Oh, you would have died by that time. Finally, or maybe last but not the least, where you are going, the people there are clean. But when you go there, you are already infected. You are rather going to add to their burden. And before you realize, you have also introduced the disease that could have been contained in Accra alone to another place, making humanity suffer because of your action. I keep telling you, everything about Islam has a logical basis. Islam will never issue a rule, issue a principle that doesn't have any scientific basis. If you don't understand it, you may make noise. But when you think about it carefully, you will see that the religion whose social values, whose political values, whose economic values, whose cultural values are more compatible to the full realization of human dignity and happiness is Islam. The point of significance. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. The point of significance is that a particular act or any act has several aspects. It is not just the consequence alone. Sometimes the consequence is bad. But then the act has a lot of benefits for the society wherein this act was committed. A means does not necessarily guarantee or automatically affect the ethical value of an act. So each section of this is assessed on its own merit. The means is judged separately. The nature of the act is judged separately. The act itself is judged separately. Even the procedure for committing the act is judged separately, and the consequence as well is judged separately. So when a person is intending an act and the consequence of the act is bad, it is better for the individual not to even engage in that act at all. That is better that way. A means is different. The act is different. The consequence as well is also different. And the intention is equally different. Thus, the means for causing the effect or the outcome is as responsible or even more responsible than the end, that is, the effect or consequence itself. So you see, you can't just look at the consequence alone. And that is why consequentialism is a bit problematic for Muslim ethical thinkers. Although, as I said, intention also makes, or as I said, the intention also makes reference in some way to the consequence at a point in time. That's okay. However, the intention determines the eventual ethical value of the act, but not the consequence itself. Man, upon therefore, if a person desires to commit an act to save a situation, but reaps an undesired consequence, his moral standing will be judged based on his desire. Because for an act to be accepted in Islam, one, the act itself, the nature of the act, the procedure for committing the act, the means to committing the act, as well as the consequence, are all supposed to be good. If one of them is good or one of them is bad, invariably, if this is realized before the act is executed, then automatically that particular act cannot be considered as ethically halal, such as Israel and America are doing. Because although they are intending a good consequence of possibly bringing peace to a larger number of individuals who are suffering, who might be perceived as suffering. That's the best way. But the approach, the means to committing or ensuring this is evil. The act of maintaining peace is bad, is good. But the means through which this peace is being invited, obviously, leaves so much to desire. The question is, does a good intention permit the employment of a bad means in Islam? I think we have already answered this question. When you have a good intention, can you employ a bad means to achieve that particular intention? Oh, I have the good intention of bringing about peace in the Middle East. Ayatollah has fomented so many troubles. So we are going to remove him just to bring about peace in the Middle East. Does that allow you to employ a so-called evil approach? Obviously, no. Because in Islam, a good intention does not make a haram act halal. Just having to achieve a good outcome does not allow you to employ haram act or haram means to achieve that particular aim or objective you intend to achieve. So merely realizing that the means to achieving this particular laurel, this particular aim or objective is fraught with so many challenges in itself means it is unachievable laurel. So you just abandon it immediately. Desiring a good outcome, that's the consequence, does not on its own permit one to get involved in an unethical means to achieve that outcome, unless the means to achieving this outcome or this consequence is also legitimate by ethical standard. That's the point of significance. So, for an act to be considered as legitimate from the Islamic ethical point of view, the means, the act itself, the consequence of the act, as well as the procedure for committing that act, the nature of the act are all expected to be ethically halal before that act can be considered as legitimate. Now, let us look at another very important theory, the theory of deontology in Islam. Now, at this time, I think we have reached 9 o'clock, which is half of our period. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have now finished the consequentialist theory. We are going to do deontology. But we have jumped, we have now spent half of our time. Let me allow you the opportunity to ask questions with regards to what you have done so far. Then we'll continue with the second half. Any question, observation, clarification? Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for your own contribution, clarification, observation, disagreement.
Sir.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
My own is, I think, this contribution. I'm contributing to what you said earlier.
Okay.
When you were talking about, you use this example as you being in Accra, and then there's an outbreak of a disease or a contagious disease. Due to fears, you decide to run out of Accra to go back to your village. And immediately you said that, then I remember the story of Anabi Suleiman and his companions. When they were having a conversation, and the angel of death came to visit. But he didn't come purposely for visit, but he came for one companion of Anabi Suleiman. So after, because of Anabi Suleiman, he gave them a greeting and left. So when the angel of death left, Anabi Suleiman asked the companion, "Do you know the person who just left here?" And then the particular companion who the angel of death came for said, "No, who is he?" And he said, "Oh, he's the angel of death, and he's here for you." And then the companion gave his share. He said, and then Anabi Suleiman asked him, "What do you want me to do for you right now?" And he said, "I want to leave this town to a different place." Unfortunately, the angel of death was sent to that man, but Allah asked him not to take his life in that town, but rather in different town. So when Anabi Suleiman asked him, "What do you want me to do?" Let's assume maybe they are in Accra, and then the companion said, "I want to be in Kumasi right now," because he's running out of the angel of death. So Anabi Suleiman also instructed the genie to take him there. So immediately the angel took the companion to Kumasi. Immediately they got to Kumasi. He met the angel of death there, and then the angel of death told him that this is the place that my Lord said I should come and take your life. So when I saw you at Prophet Suleiman's place, I asked God that the man that you asked me to go and take his life at Kumasi, I saw him in Accra right now. And he said, by the time that I give it to you to take his life is not up. So by the time I ask you to perform your duty to reach, you get him in Kumasi. Fortunately, when the time reaches, the man too is in Kumasi. So comparing to what you said, wherever that you are, and if Allah has permitted something to happen to you, no matter where you are, or no matter wherever you find yourself, if Allah have decreed that it will happen to you, no matter what, you will get your share. Thank you, sir.
Yo. So it means that you cannot escape anything Allah has destined for you. When we come to, maybe we will use another version of this narrative about a certain man who had the angel of death as a friend. You know, in the Muslim dialectics, there's a very interesting story which which tends to link itself up with this story, and we'll give it very soon. You understand that? So the point of significance is that when the time comes for you to die, there's nothing that can change. When Christians are
Yes,
singing
sir.
their songs, there's a song I particularly hear, Destiny Changer. Destiny Changer. Who is that destiny changer? That there's a being,
Shebreh is something.
whether what is that? Yeah, go
I
ahead
said,
if you want to talk.
Shebreh is something.
Aha, good. You see that? Destiny changer. Somebody who will change your destiny. Who is that? I saw some post on social media. A certain lady was saying that there are people on earth now who exchange people's destiny. I mean, let us be serious. Destiny is something nobody, not even God who gave it to you, will change it. If you have been created to be a poor person, that is not to emphasize what we call fatalism in ethics. But if you have been created, whatever Allah has assigned to you, you promised before you left the the spiritual world. So God Himself will not even change it for you. That is what we are going to live by. Any number of years you are
So,
born to spend, yes.
so please, I have a question right now. The,
Okay, go ahead.
the destiny that you said right now, that even God Himself does not change
Uh-huh.
destiny.
Yeah.
Uh, in Islam, we have Qadr.
Uh-huh.
So say, I I don't know if I should say I heard or believe or like I know. I don't know which one I should use. But I think they said
Uh-huh.
during the night of Laylatul Qadr,
Uh-huh.
maybe you might be a bad person,
Uh-huh.
but due to you observing the Laylatul Qadr, you can pray to God,
Uh-huh.
and then God can. I don't know, but I have that belief that if you are able to observe the Laylatul Qadr, God can change your destiny. Maybe if you are going to hellfire, maybe God might change it for you to give you Jannah.
No,
Oh, you said
it is
of God
not.
Himself.
It is not
I'm
your
meeting
qadar.
people, so okay.
Uh, Unfortunately, it is not your qadar that is going to change. You understand that?
Okay.
It isn't your qadar
Yes, sir.
that is going to change. The qadar is something that has been earmarked for you already at birth. Prophet Muhammad, in one of his traditions, indicated clearly that five things are decided for man. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Aha. Prophet Muhammad, in one of his traditions, indicated clearly that five things are
Good
decided for
morning.
man. Five things are decided for man before birth. One is, I don't know whether I can remember all of them. Your portion of wealth.
Uh,
Whether you are
yes.
created to be a rich man
Your date.
or you are created to be a poor
For
person.
appointment.
You
Yes,
swear
sir.
before you come, I am going to be a poor man.
Mm,
And of course, there are normal happenings. There are times a person will struggle to become rich. He will struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle. He will never get rich. Others might not even struggle at all. But eventually, they become rich. And sometimes you wonder, the kind of work this person is doing, my own is far better than his own. Yet, see the kind of things he's able to do. We have teachers who have cars that they drive to school every day. You understand that? But there are some people who are working in very lucrative agencies who don't have a car. Some will just work, and when they go on retirement, even where to sleep becomes a problem. Whilst others at your university campuses, I don't know what pertains in the colleges of education, But when you come to the university campuses, we have laborers, cleaners, who build houses sometimes even for some lecturers to rent and sleep inside. So surprising. Maybe these lecturers might be newly appointed lecturers. But the point I want to emphasize is that there are people who are earning very low salaries who are doing much better than those who are earning big salaries. Many lecturers are interested in big cars, the V6. You understand that? The 4x4s. Many of them take a very long time to build. Whilst the laborer, he knows that he doesn't get that much of a salary. So every single thing he gets, he invests it, whether in building. He knows definitely the salary that he or she is getting, if he has to depend on rent, he can't make it. So instead of thinking about always renting, he would decide rather to put something down, even if it is not up to the standard everybody would imagine. You see that? So the practice of becoming rich or the belief in becoming rich is not something that is always backed by hard work. There are numerous times that people work hard, they don't get rich. Other times people don't even work hard and they become rich. You understand that? Nobody changes a destiny. Now, the takdir, what happens with regards to the night of destiny? This is a night for commemorating the power of Allah. It is not a night for changing anything on earth. You understand that? This is a night for reminding us about the power of Allah. That's why we call it Layla al-Qadr, the night of destiny. And that night of destiny itself is even figurative. What is unique about the day of the night of destiny? You see, Quran says, Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. The night of destiny is better than 1,000 or thousands of months. You understand that?
Okay.
Because this is the time Quran was revealed.
Okay.
And of course, has there been any human endeavor that has been able to rival that which took place in the cave of Hira the day the Quran was actually revealed? No. The revelation of the Quran changed human perception about life altogether. This is the kind of event that particular night is expected to commemorate. So anybody who knows birthday, who believes in birthday, this is the time every Muslim should be happy. Because this is the day that the most magnificent message ever sent to humanity was sent. So this is the event that is expected to be commemorated on the day or on the night that is referred to as Laylatul Qadr. And not necessarily because God depends on that night to change people's destiny.
Hello, sir.
Oh. Yes. Yeah, I'm listening. Hey. Can you hear me? TJ.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
I thought somebody wanted to ask a question.
What you said right now, you said I want
Okay.
to
Okay.
You said,
Yeah.
yeah, sir, you said every Muslim should be.
Hello? TJ.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, we were
I
not
said,
hearing you.
yeah, sir, it's like, sir,
Okay. Awesome. Is it my credit?
said,
Oh, all right. I have someone. Hello? Hello? Yes, I
Okay.
think it's
Hello, sir.
my own. It is my own credit.
Uh-huh.
My credit is getting finished.
Okay.
That's why the thing is breaking. So let me load some, and then so give me some five
Okay,
minutes
sir.
to load some credit, and then
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
we'll get back into action.
Okay, sir.
Mm. Okay. Okay, I think I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. So, the one who was talking, can he continue? Oh, he's gone.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
I'm, ba- I'm
I
back.
don't know if because of the network, the last, uh, the last, I should say, the last one that you were saying, I didn't get you because the network, it was going so. But I heard something like you said, you need to be happy when it's your birthday.
No, that's not what I said. What
Uh-huh.
I was saying was
Uh-huh.
that
Okay.
if you are interested in a birthday, it is
Okay.
this day that you should be interested in, because
Uh-huh.
the night of destiny is just a commemoration. You understand? It reminds us of the
Yes,
day,
yes.
one of the most important documents. In fact, one of the, if not the most important document that details the instructions for the happiness of the
Your
human
life
race
on it.
was actually
Mhm.
revealed on this earth. So whoever really understands what we call birthday, birthdays are not given to Muslims. The day of your birth does not really, it's not supposed to be something that should make you happy. You should rather be sad on the day you were born. If you know what is ahead of you, you would laugh that you were not even born at all. So it's not a birthday that should make you happy, because the day you were born, a very heavy load had been placed on your neck. And on the day of judgment, you would wish that you were not even born as a human being. Rather, it is supposed to remind you about the day you will die. You have to think more about the day you will depart this earth. Because this earth is not a friend of the believer. It is a place that is full of trials. No place will ever test the believer more than our life on earth. So when the day comes, instead of you throwing a party for making yourself happy on that day, rather sit down and commemorate. Think about the day you will die, and possibly even what you have gone through, the ingratitude you have shown God all along for the beautiful things He has given you to enjoy, and the the kind of faith that is awaiting you in the hereafter. If you do this, you will never be happy the day you were born. You would rather be sad and maybe even hate yourself for being born, rather than making yourself happy and jubilating because you believe somebody somehow someday struggled to bring you forth, and you think the day of your birth is the best day for you. Far from it. Anyway, I hope that is clarified. Is it clarified?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, any other concern, objective? I don't know whether I finished talking about that thing, but that's why I'm asking you whether you were okay with the explanation I gave.
So I'm okay with that. Okay, you said there are
Okay.
five. So, this is the first
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. So, uh, five things are decided for man. Your portion of
Yeah.
wealth. As I said, I don't know whether I'll be able to remember all, but your portion of
Mm,
wealth, whether you will be a rich man, you will be a poor man, is something that is decided for you before birth. Number two is your place of abode, whether you are born to live here in Ghana, or live in the US, or live in the UK, live in Germany, live in a certain village. You understand that? Wherever you have been originally predestined to live is the place you are going to live. So people try, I want to travel to Germany, I want to travel to the US. They will spend so much of their fortune on earth and end up impoverishing themselves. But still, they will not be able to travel to Germany. I thought somebody was asking a question. You will not be able to travel to Germany. You understand that? You try everything in your capacity, you will not succeed. Because probably you are not born to taste experience in Germany. Number three, the place of your death, where you will die. It is in this context that that narrative that you get aside, I will give you one narrative which is also available in the Muslim tradition, which is not necessarily true, but it is a story that is narrated for the purpose of teaching moral. We call them allegory. Allegorical stories might not necessarily be true. They may be true or they may not be true, but they are only narrated for the purpose of teaching moral lessons. A certain man had Malaik al-Maut. Malaik al-Maut is the angel that is known as Azrael. Azrael is the angel that has been charged with the duty of taking the life of every man, every woman, everything that has a life. It is Azrael that is in charge of it. Azrael had a certain friend. In fact, a man had Azrael as his friend. Well, the man was well-to-do. He was very rich. So he told Azrael, my friend, do you know something? You have been a very good friend of mine. I want you to do me some favor. This one, it is my passionate plea. Please. Azrael told him, well, you know, we are very faithful friends. Tell me, what is it that you want me to do to you? The man said, I want you to let me know when I'm left with about 3 years to die. Let me know when I'm left with about 3 years to die. I'll be very grateful. Azrael stood there for a very long time. I said, okay, no problem. I will let you know. But when Azrael was going home, the man became a bit suspicious. Why is it that when I told him that you tell me 3 years before I die, his face changed? Well, since he has agreed, no problem. So the man was expecting that at least when he's left with about 3 years to die, obviously his intention was to, as everybody will expect, devour much of his property, or at least enjoy much of his property before death takes him away. So he was actually in anticipation. He became so happy that day that Azrael had agreed to at least inform him 3 years before he dies. But the following day, he had a knock on his door. And then he opened. When he opened, it was his friend Azrael. He said, please, I came to discuss something with you. Hey, Azrael, I hope all is well. No, there's no problem. So he gave him a seat. Azrael sat down. Then he told him that, you remember what you told me yesterday? He said, yes. That when you are left with about 3 years to die, I should let you know. I said, oh, yes. I'm very grateful. Yes, and you agreed. You remember? Oh, yes, I agreed. But unfortunately, it seems you didn't tell me early. I said, hey, Azrael, I hope all is well. I said, yes, you didn't tell me early. You should have told me earlier. Because you see, tomorrow next, you are left with 3 days to die. And that's why when you told me that I should inform you 3 years before you die, I was a bit surprised, because if that is the case, you should have told me early. Oh, but Azrael, why this? I say, because I have been given a register to follow. But you didn't tell me that I should tell you 3 years before you die, so that you prepare. So unfortunately, you are only left with 3 days to die. So please, get ready. Tomorrow next, I will come and take your life. Then Azrael stood up and left. This man entered his room, and you can imagine, a person who is expecting to hear the news of his death at least 3 years before or 3 years afterwards, was now informed that he was going to die 3 days after the time this Azrael visited him. You can imagine. He cried, ah. And then his wife, who had gone outside to buy something, came and met her husband crying. Oh, my sweetheart, my husband, my master, why are you crying? This man told the wife, look, my friend Azrael just came here. In fact, yesterday I met him and I told him that when I'm left with about 3 years to die, he should come and let me know so that I can prepare adequately before I die. Azrael came here just this morning and told me that tomorrow I'm left with only 3 days to die, which means tomorrow next he will come and take my life. That's why I'm so sad and I'm crying. The wife looked at the husband. Oh, your wisdom, dear. Is Azrael not in this town? Ah, why should you be worried because Azrael has come to tell you that you will die tomorrow next? Get ready. Get ready. Just gather a few of your things that you can use and run away from this town. Leave this town. There is no need to stay here for Azrael to come and take your life. Get ready and run away. Said, wow, that's a very useful suggestion. So as usual, the man just got ready and then loaded as much clothes as possible that he thought he could use on his way. Then he just took some little water and then started running away. Where are you going? The man moved into a very thick, very dense forest. So much so that he didn't himself. Now, where are you going? He didn't even know where he was. Then night fell him. He found a place and had a rest. The following day, he continued his journey. He was just so tired. But he was not even aware of where he was. But thank God he appeared on a certain road in front of the forest. When he got to the road, at a point in time, he saw that he was very, very tired, such that without rest, he couldn't have continued his journey. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Ah, good. He saw that he would never be able to continue his journey if he doesn't have some rest. So he saw some shade. The shade subtended by a certain tree. So he decided to and there was a certain trunk, like what the account will call Jensawa, that big tree or big, what do we call, shank of a tree that he thought he could just rest on. So he decided to rest on it, sit down on it for some time, and then take some rest before continuing his journey. But he was asking himself, if I had not run away, on the third day was the day he appeared on the road. So before he sat down, he was just saying in his head, if I had stayed in my town, today is the day I am going to die. Thanks to my wife, who gave me the advice to leave this town. Otherwise, today I would have died if I stayed in this town. Ah, Azrael, pa, you are my friend. I tell me 3 years before I die. You just tell me only 3 days before I die. How can you be so wicked? Ah, let me rest Skrala. And he wanted to sit on this shank, the trunk of the tree. When he put his back down and was getting ready to sit down, he heard a voice down there asking him, hey, be careful you don't sit on me. Ah, when he turned around and looked at the thing he was sitting on, lo and behold, it was his friend, Azrael, lying down there. Ah, Azrael, what are you doing here? I said, but I came to your house to tell you that you are left with 3 days to die. And you are supposed to die here. That's why I'm waiting for you here. It is here that I'm supposed to come and take your life. I'm waiting for you here to take your life. So if you have come, thank God, let us go. The man died on the road where he thought he was running from death. Eventually, that is where he went to die. That's number one. Number two, the same Azrael is also reported to have come to Mecca to perform Hajj. Again, as I said earlier, these stories are not necessarily factual stories. They are allegorical stories. They are not necessarily true stories that are narrated for the purpose of teaching moral lessons. It is the target of teaching moral lessons that are found in these stories. Azrael came to this place, Makkah, to perform Hajj. Sorry, let me put it this way rather. A certain man came from Baghdad to come and perform Hajj at Makkah. Whilst he was performing this Hajj, he saw somebody looking at him so closely. Everywhere there is what we call tawaf, which involves the circumlocation of the Kaaba. At least, even if you are not a Muslim, you have seen what we call tawaf on social media, or at least you have seen a picture of it. Muslims go around the Kaaba a total of 21 times, 7 times on each occasion. Now, as they were doing this ritual, this man was standing in the congregation, looking at him so closely. Why is it that the man is just looking at me like that? Who is he? So this Baghdadi man became uncomfortable. Why this new man was just spying on him like that? So he decided to stop the Hajj altogether and took a plane back to Baghdad. When he got to the Baghdad airport, he saw the same man standing there looking at him once again. What really is going on? Why is it that this man keeps looking at me? I left because of this man in Makkah. Now he's here, also observing me again. So this time he decided to gather some courage and go to him to ask him question. He went to him, said salam to him. Please, who are you? I was in Makkah performing Hajj. When I saw you looking at me so closely, it is because of you that I left Makkah and came down here. But unfortunately, after I got down from the airport, you, the same person, are here, also looking at me once again. Please, who are you? He said, oh, my name is Azrael. I am the angel in charge of death. In fact, I am supposed to come here to this airport to take your life. But I decided to go to Makkah to perform Hajj. There are 2 types of Hajj. There is what we call Hajj al-Kabir, the major Hajj. Then we have what we call Umrah. Umrah and Hajj virtually are characterized by the same rituals. But Umrah can take place anytime and within any period, whilst Hajj only takes place within the 8th, 9th, and the 10th of Zulhijjah, the 12th month of the Arab lunar calendar. So the man actually went to do Umrah. But because of this kind of assignment the 2 of them were facing, they all left. So Azrael told him that, look, I have been earmarked to come here to this airport to take your life. I went to Makkah to perform Hajj. And I saw you there. So I was surprised. Is this not the person that I'm supposed to take his life at Baghdad? I mean, at the Baghdad airport. What is he doing here? So that's why I was watching you. I was looking at you to ascertain whether you are the same person I am supposed to take his life. So when you stopped the Hajj and decided to take aircraft back to Baghdad, that's when I concluded that maybe he's the same person. So let me go back and do my job. So please, you are the person I'm looking for. Yalla, let's go. The man collapsed and his life was taken away. These pieces of narratives indicate that the year of your death, the day of your death, the place of your death are all things that you can never know. And when the time comes for you to die, the place where you are expected to die, definitely you will have to go there and die. Perhaps the one who is praying that I should go to America, God, help me to go to Germany. God, help me to go to the UK. Perhaps you are earmarked to die in the plane. You don't know whether Allah is asking you to go and die or something else, or that the day you will get to America is the day that your death is over. And you are also praying to God to help you to go to America. On the face value of it, don't you think you are rather praying to God essentially to cut your life short, even though that is not possible, consistent with the principles of Qadar that we mentioned earlier? Think about it. The remaining three, I give it to you as an assignment. Go and search for it whilst we continue our lecture. Deontology. Deontological ethics and Islam. What is deontology? Deontology focuses on the nature of the act itself. Deontology is actually not interested in the consequence, so it is the opposite of consequentialism or teleological ethical reasoning. Deontological ethics considers the motive or intention behind an act, or the original motive of the individual who commits the act. So you can see that in time frame, deontology looks quite similar in terms of its leaning with the Islamic system of knowledge. But don't be too quick to conclude. It is the argument that morality is a natural human responsibility, whether religious or non-religious. That's one of the shortcomings of deontology. According to deontology, it is the duty of every human being to be religious. It is the duty of every human being to be morally upright. But you and I know that if everybody has it as a duty, if it is compulsory for everybody to become morally upright, then of course there wouldn't be any need for God to create heaven and earth. Because after all, you don't have the choice of deciding not to worship God. It is duty, it is compulsory, it is a default function. Whether you like it or not, you have to execute it. But God still created two mutually exclusive things, namely heaven and earth. The creation of heaven and earth demonstrates clearly that human beings do not have it as a duty to be morally upright. It means the individual has the choice of either refusing to be morally upright or being morally upright. But that when you choose to be morally upright, God rewards you with heaven. When you choose to be morally corrupt, God equally rewards you with hell. For the deontologists, therefore, human beings have moral responsibilities to do what is right and refrain from what is wrong. And the rightness or wrongness of an act does not depend on its consequence, but the act itself, including the means to committing the act. This is what makes deontology a bit more reserved compared with consequentialism. Because the consequentialist unconditionally places the ethical value of a human act according to the consequence of its outcome, or according to the consequence or its outcome. So if the consequence is negative, then the ethical value of that act equally is negative. If the consequence is negative, if the consequence is positive, then the ethical value of that particular act equally is also positive. An act is right or wrong according to a deontologist in itself, irrespective of the consequence. So again, this is also another shortcoming of consequential. This is also another shortcoming of deontology. As far as deontologies are concerned, the rightness or wrongness of a human act does not in any way depend on the consequence. But the question is, if the consequence is altogether erased from the picture or from the analysis of the rightness or wrongness, how do we, in the first place, intend an act? Because intention has an aim, which is at the end. We have something we expect to achieve as a byproduct, as an end product. So if the consequence does not play any role in deciding the ethical value of a human act, then what is the basis of human act as far as the deontologist is concerned? This also makes deontology a bit problematic. A good consequence of an act does not necessarily make the act right in itself. That is correct. But then we cannot also totally erase the consequence of an act altogether, because that consequence plays a role. We cannot neglect it totally. Deontology or deontological standard of human reasoning, deontological or deontology or deontological standard or moral thinking is in tandem with Islam, but partly. Why? One, like the deontologist moral philosophy, the rightness or wrongness of a human act in Islam is determined by its consequence, but by the rule of morality, namely the merit or demerit, the nature of the act. That is why I said deontology is a bit problematic, because it only takes the nature of the act itself, the means to committing the act, and possibly the procedure used to commit the act. But it neglects inadvertently the consequence of that particular act. But you and I know, as I said earlier, the Islamic ethical reasoning also depends to some extent on the consequence. Because the aim of an act, the goal of an act is the outcome, the consequence. Even though, as far as Muslims are concerned, this outcome does not necessarily always determine the ethical value of a human act. Just like the deontologist, in Islamic ethics, human acts need not to be justified by their consequences. But that is true. However, it is the opposite of the philosophy that the end justifies the means. Because the end product can definitely not be justified unless the means to committing the act itself, as well as the nature of the act or even the procedure for committing the act, are all considered to be ethically correct. In Islam, moral implications are based on principles, and the result of one's action is inconsequential to the allocation of reward. An act is therefore right or wrong in itself without its consequence. But this is not holistic. Sometimes, as we shall see, the ethical value of a human act can also be linked with the consequence. Because apparently the consequence is what hatches the aim. And if the aim is not there, as we had indicated earlier, any act without an aim is meaningless. The aim becomes the axis around which every decision will have to revolve. Nonetheless, Islamic ethics also emphasizes the significance of both the consequence and the act itself, as I had indicated, the means to committing the act, the intention. So intention also makes reference to consequence, even though this consequence does not solely play the role of determining the ethical value of a human act. It is also not proper to single that consequence out as something that is not endorsed in the Islamic ethical assessment. An act could be judged both by its intention, the ontological significance, the cause, the means, and the intent, as well as its consequence. So Islam indeed also takes into consideration the consequence of an act. The Quran and the prophetic Sunnah emphasize that both the good and the bad consequence of human acts determine the ethical value of that act. That is the wrongness or rightness of a human act. So we can't just neglect the consequence alone and single out the nature of the act, the ontological significance, as the only thing that determines. So the point of significance here is that although deontological ethics appeals to some extent to Islamic ethics, it does not wholly satisfy the requirement of Islamic ethics. But Muslims, in other words, also make reference to deontological ethics. In the Quran, Allah says, fighting has been enjoined upon you while it is hateful to you. But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you. And perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows best. This single quotation emphasizes the dexterity of consequence in the decision-making process in Islamic ethics. Sometimes Allah has prescribed fighting for human beings. It is obvious that especially non-Muslims don't see the value of fighting. When there is a war, or Muslims patronize war as a means to correct an error, they don't seem to get the import of it. So they think that Muslims are warlike. There was a post I saw on social media where somebody was saying that Iran was protecting its weapons whilst leaving human beings unprotected. At first sight, immediately you realize that this is not a thinking being. Are you saying Iran should dig tunnels and keep the human beings inside the tunnel so that when the Tomahawk missiles were launched onto the for example, nuclear site, all the human beings in that tunnel would have been buried under the ground? Is that what the person was saying? Sometimes when you listen to some people's posts on social media, you just wonder whether these people have brains in the first place in their head. They are saying it so cleverly, and people are liking them. But such people don't even take time to analyze the things that are being said by such people. Because obviously, it is easier to think, but it is not easy to reason. Everybody thinks that once you think, you are a reasonable human being. But reasoning and thinking are two different things. If you make a statement and you have not subjected that statement to critical analysis, you may think that you are the most clever individual. But as somebody will say, I think the account people have a proverb. When you think you are deceiving God, when you think you are deceiving the crab, God is looking at your, you can continue. So here, fighting has been prescribed for you because Allah knows that sometimes fighting is the only means to solving a problem. Therefore, even though killing is not permitted under certain circumstances, if you know killing somebody, unaliving somebody can give you access, can lead successfully to the achievement of a certain aim, why not? Allah prescribes it for you. What we call jihad is under investigation here. But because you don't know the consequence that is at the end of this fighting that has been prescribed for you, you hate it. But Allah knows best. This can be found in Quran chapter 2, verse 216. You can also get the same thing in Quran chapter 24, verse 11, or Quran chapter 24, verse 3. Thus, in Islamic ethics, teleological ethics or consequentialism could be reconciled. So sometimes, indeed, Islam makes reference to consequentialism, even though it also agrees perfectly with what we call um, deontology. For example, when it comes to the permissibility for the use of lies under certain circumstances, I pose to you the question: can a Muslim lie? Is lie ethical for a Muslim?
So you've already answered the question
Mm.
because you said it's permissible to lie.
Eh.
Is in some circumstance.
Eh.
So
So,
say here the
so,
case.
eh.
Uh, in for example, in marriage,
Mm-hmm.
when it's in case of divorce,
Mm-hmm.
you can lie to save the marriage.
Mm.
In, in that instance, although telling lies is bad,
Mm.
but in as much you are telling that lie to save the marriage is good.
Yo. So at first sight, immediately you realize that there are exceptional circumstances in which even what has been declared as forbidden can be considered for achieving what is good. There is what in Islamic law we call darura. Darura. Darura is necessity in Islam or exigency. There's a maxim in Islamic law, adarurat tubihul mahzurat, which means that necessities legalize illegalities. What is considered to be necessary makes what is considered legal legal. Take, for example, every Muslim knows, or everybody knows, that Muslims are prohibited from taking alcohol. Muslims are prohibited from taking pork. But in Islamic law, based on Darura, a Muslim who travels to a place where the only food that is available is mediated by, by, by the meat of the swine, given the situation of exigencies, given the situation of necessity, a Muslim is permitted to eat as much as possible of that so-called haram food, and even continue to even keep some with him whilst leaving that environment until the so-called haram food, until the so-called halal food is available. In Islamic law, we call this darura, necessity. Well, somebody will ask, but this is haram. Why is he permitted to take it? Why are you permitted to take what is haram? It is. But let us look at it this way. Allah has given life as a kind of trust, amana, to every Muslim, every human being for that matter. So that life that has been given to you, that enables you to move here and there, is something that has been given to you for safekeeping. It is not yours. Allah gave it to you to keep for him. And that is why when the time comes for him to come and take it, you cannot say, no, I am not ready to give you my life. He gave it to you as a trust, amana. So when the time comes for him to come and take it away, he doesn't have to inform you, because at the time he was giving it to you, he didn't seek your permission before giving it to you. In much the same way, when the time comes for him to take that life away from you, he just comes straight to take it away. Now, this life that is given to you, it is your duty to make sure you protect it. Taking your life when the time has not come for you to die is considered to be a morally wrong problem. A Muslim, or for that matter, any human being, is prohibited from taking his own life. Well, that is disobedience to God. God has given you this life to keep for him. When he wants it, or he wants to come and take it, he will take it without informing you. So if you don't wait for God to take it himself and you give it up to him, it's like somebody giving you something to keep. And you go and tell the person that, Jiwade, I don't need it anymore. I can't keep it for you anymore. That's disobedience to God, to say the least. Further, this life has been given to you. Nonetheless, it is your duty to maintain it. It is your duty to make sure that it is nourished. You keep it in the best possible way. So when you maltreat this life, when you misuse your body, it means you are abusing the life Allah has kept under your control or under your care. Consequently, the assumption is that God has given you this life for safekeeping. And because it is given to you for safekeeping, you have to always make sure you maintain it as such. So when you go to a place where there is no food for maintaining this body or maintaining this life and ensuring its continuity, the assumption is that Allah himself has placed this burden on you. And the Islamic maxim, the typical Islamic maxim, upholds the fact that God does not mean to place burden on your way. Any burden, anything that becomes burdensome, to the extent of that being considered burden, it is declared null and void. That is why the statement, necessity legalizes illegality. It is of utmost consideration in Islamic law. The choice of refusing to eat that meat and dying to end that life that God has given to you. Eating that meat which God has placed in your way. This is risk. This is provision of life that Allah himself has given you. If God, who created you and gave you that life, did not want you to take it, he would have given you a better choice. So if people in any surface of the earth are faced with the challenge of getting correct food to eat, and the only food that is available is considered to be haram, when people take that food, they are not taking haram food. It becomes haram only when there is food that is considered so-called halal. When the so-called halal food becomes available, whatever is considered to be haram or whatever is considered not to be halal then now takes on the quality of haram. I hope that is clear. So if a person is faced with difficult choices and does not have any choice, that person is permitted under certain circumstances to take even what is considered to be haram, because that refusal to do that or refusal to take it would mean that person is going to die. And if you die, you will stand the chance of denying Allah the opportunity to receive your worship. So given that circumstance, since God has placed this burden on you, that burden is freed by the reliance on the same Allah. And this God is telling you, under such circumstances, taking of that haram meat is permitted for you. In much the same way, somebody will ask, hey, so if I go somewhere and there's no water, but the only water that's available is alcohol, can I then take it? Chehu? No. Because there is nowhere alcohol is used as water. Water is a universal creature. Therefore, everywhere you go, definitely water will be there. If water is not found in any surface of the earth, then human beings cannot live there. Fortunately or unfortunately, the body has been wired to deny itself of the presence of water, because the body itself is made up of close to 70% of water or even more. So if you don't take water for just some few days or some few hours, you won't die. In any case, assuming you go to a place where there's no water, and the only water that is available probably has alcohol inside. Again, counting on darura, necessity, you have no choice. So under such circumstances, darura covers you. Even though, as I have said, with regards to alcohol, it is very rare. But on a more serious note, today there are many medicines that are available for treatment of ill health. For example, Valium, whether Valium 5 or Valium 10. Codeine. These were all medicines that were used for the treatment of ill health. Bear in mind, all these diseases have properties that are ethanol based. Depressants, drugs that are capable of helping you to cure or mitigate depression. And laxatives, any drug when you take it relaxes your body. For those who are hypertensive, amlodipine has ethanol inside, because that is what relaxes the veins. That does not mean when you take alcohol, your vein is going to be relaxed. Obviously, here you have no choice, because the manufacturer himself has added these properties. And a Muslim doctor who is treating ill health in a hospital, although might be aware that these medicines have these properties, which, simply put, have been declared as haram. But of course, this doctor does not have any choice than to subscribe to this kind of medicine in the treatment of a particular ill health. Thus, he will just administer such a drug to a Muslim patient to go and take it. In this case, you don't have any choice. But if the medical doctor has a choice of recommending any or prescribing any other type of medicine which does not have ethanol, he is permitted to do so. But if he doesn't have any choice, then, as I said, darura covers such a person. That's number one. Number two, Quran makes mention of Prophet Abraham. The word used in the Quran to refer to Abraham is Sadiq or Siddiq. Siddiq in Arabic simply means a catcher of truth. Somebody who never lies. The understanding here is that Abraham was very truthful. He never lied. Interestingly, in a tradition of Prophet Muhammad, he is quoted to have said that Abraham lied but 3 times. Prophet Ibrahim lied 3 times. What are these lies? In his Qasas al-Anbiya, Ibn Kathir clearly indicates that Abraham lied 3 times. But interestingly, these narratives are actually found in the Israeliyat. When we talk of Israeliyat are the narratives that originated from the Israelites. These narratives could be available in the ancient compendium of the commentary on the Pentateuch, known technically as Midrash. For those of you who have been exposed to some bit of Old Testament, you would have come across what we refer to as Midrash. The Midrash is a compendium of literature that presents very authoritative commentary among the Jews of the Pentateuch, the 5 books of Moses. These stories flow from the Midrash, to the Tanakh, another very important source of literature for the Jewish people. We call it Tanakh. There is also another source which is known as Talmud. These are all books Muslims are permitted to use because they contain very interesting narratives about the prophets of old, especially those prophets that are found in the Old Testament. Relying on these narratives, Ibn Kathir indicates clearly that the 3 lies Prophet Muhammad made of Abraham, the 3 lies Prophet Muhammad said Abraham ever did. One of them, in fact, almost all of them, were in his infancy. One of them or 2 of them were in his infancy. The first one was when Abraham's father, Terah, was going for a particular festival in which they were going to worship idols. Abraham, who was upright from the beginning, did not want to go and worship or want to go and engage in the idol worship with his father, who was also a traditional priest, a person to whom the caretaking of the idols had been given. Abraham didn't want to follow his father. In the pre-Quranic literature, this Terah man is identified as an idol worshipper. And this Abraham, who was born an upright person, did not want to engage in this idol worship. So when his father asked him to go with him, he said he was not going. In fact, he was sick. He said, I am sick. But in point of fact, Abraham wasn't sick at this time. It was all because he did not want to go and engage in the idol worship with his father. Then his father then said that, okay, if you are sick, then remain behind. But take care of the shrine. That shrine, which contained several idols, was placed under the care of young Ibrahim. Take care of these shrines. Take care of these idols. Because Abraham lied that he was sick. So the first lie of Abraham was when he said he was sick. When he misled his father into believing that he was indeed sick, when in point of fact, he was not actually sick. When his father went away, Abraham picked an axe and decided to destroy the idols in the shrine, breaking them one after the other. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Good. He decided to pick an axe and broke the what do we call them? He broke the idols. He destroyed the idols in the shrine, one after the other. And then when he finished, he placed the axe with which he caused the destruction in the neck of the big idol in the shrine. When his father Terah returned from this festival, on entering the shrine, he saw the pandemonium that had been caused by Abraham. So as usual, as normal, knowing very well that he placed the care of this shrine under the personality of Abraham, he called young Abraham. Abi, come here. Who destroyed the idols in this shrine? Abraham sheepishly told the father, but the axe that it was used to destroy these idols is found in the neck of the big idol. Why don't you ask it? Inquire from it now. Abraham retorted, have you seen these idols talking before? Immediately, Abraham denied that, well, I don't know anything about this, who destroyed these idols. Once again, Abraham lied. That was the second lie of Abraham. He destroyed the idols and lied to the father that he didn't know anything about it. In fact, he didn't know the one who destroyed them. But the king at the time, Abraham caused this destruction, was known as Namrud. In the biblical narrative, he's called Nimrod. King Nimrod ordered Abraham to be burnt after he was pronounced guilty of destroying the idols. Namrud instructed that Abraham should be burnt to ashes. As usual, and in fulfillment of this obligation, Namrud ordered an altar to be created where a lot of firewood was placed, and then Abraham was put inside. They poured abrasives. Is it abrasive? Yeah. Things that this thing that kerosene, petrol type of fuel. And then they light, they put fire on it. It is reported that God himself protected Abraham, so that by the time everything had been burnt to ashes, when they offloaded the debris, Abraham was sitting in there, rather feeling cold. That's the second lie of Abraham. The third lie, Abraham stayed at a place known as Be'er Saba, what is Palestine today. For a very long time, Abraham and his wife, Sarah, were not giving birth. Abraham therefore decides that possibly it is because of the place they are. Let them change their location. Sometimes you live at a place, you will not be really happy. Then you decide that, no, let me change locations more, and then you get the opportunity for happiness, lo and behold. So in the midst of this contest, Abraham decides that, no, let us go to Egypt. In the ancient Near East, Egypt became a very important center of trade. And therefore, it attracted the attention of Abraham and his wife. So they left sail en route to Egypt. But the Egyptian king was accustomed to desiring people's wives. In the ancient Near East, when somebody desired another person's wife, divorce was not actually allowed. And so when somebody desired another person's wife, since divorce was not allowed, the only means to separate the couples was through murder. You just kill the husband. And once the husband dies, the woman becomes lonely, and then you take advantage of her. The implication is that if anybody wanted to take Sarah, as Abraham was the husband and divorce was not allowed, the only way to separate Sarah and Abraham was to kill Abraham. Abraham was very much abreast with this culture. So as they left sail to Egypt, Abraham advises Sarah, Sarah, the land we are going to dwell in now is accustomed to, the king of the land is accustomed to desiring other people's wives. So when you go there and tell them that I am your husband, they will kill me. They will kill me and take over you. So please, when you go and they ask you, tell them, then you are my cousin. I can't remember whether cousin or sister. Lie to them about the relationship between you and I. So when they went to Egypt, lo and behold, and true to the expectation of Abraham, when Pharaoh heard about the presence of Sarah and Abraham, Pharaoh immediately invited Sarah to his harem for Sarah to be prepared for use by the king. There's a certain I call him philosopher in South Africa among the Zulu people. His name is Joseph Bantu Biko. Joseph Bantu Biko made a statement that there is no weapon that is more effective in the hands of the oppressor than the mind of the oppressed. There's no weapon that is more effective in the hands of the oppressor than the minds of the oppressed. The people who are being oppressed, their own mind is what the oppressor uses as a weapon. And this materializes effectively in this Egyptian narrative. When Abraham went to Egypt, do you think the Pharaoh will immediately realize that there is a visitor in Egypt? No. It is the citizens who actually went and informed the Pharaoh that somebody has come to this village. But these citizens, on the other hand, also know very well that this Pharaoh is accustomed to desiring other people's wives. But they still went ahead to inform him that a new group of people have been here, so that the Pharaoh took advantage to invite this lady. And indeed, according to what appears to be right, after the inquiry, the Pharaoh attempted, the king of Egypt, attempted to touch Sarah inappropriately. The point of significance is that the Pharaoh went through very unusual experience, which made him believe that Sarah is a holy woman. This is the occasion, or this is the event that occasioned the effort of the Pharaoh, or the king of Egypt, to give Hagar to Sarah as a servant. This is the third lie of Abraham, which Prophet Muhammad was talking about. But let us look at all the three lies. In the first place, Abraham lied that he was sick so that he got the opportunity to stay home and refused to worship the idols. Was it bad to have lied that way? You and I know that definitely that lie was a holy lie. Because if he did not lie that he was sick, his father would have taken him to where they were going to worship the idols. So that invariably, the boy would have also taken part in this idol worship. So that lie actually saved him from going to worship idols. The second lie, when he broke the idols, when he destroyed the idols, once again he lied that he was not the one who did it. Again, he did it because he feared they will cause him harm. And indeed, whether he did it or he did not do it, they tried to cause him harm. But the point of significance is that when they tried to destroy him, if Abraham was a sinner, God would have punished him with that particular burning. But interestingly, God saved him from the fire that was set by the people. What does this tell you? It means that the lie attributed to Abraham was not really evil. Again, in the case of Egypt, when he said Sarah was a sister or cousin or whatever the biblical narrative will say, he did it because he feared if he did not say it that way, the king of Egypt would take advantage to kill him and take over his wife. When he did that, although again Allah saved him, that lie also saved his life. That presupposes that sometimes lies could be initiated, could be committed to bring about something that is good. So if a person initiates lie or commits a lie, but the consequence is good, that lie has an ethical value. That's the point of significance. So you can see that in this instance, the issue of consequentialism manifests significantly. The objective of that lie of Abraham was the consequence. The whole outcome of the lie is what justifies the means. So here, consequentialism manifests itself significantly. That is the point of significance. Whether when he said he was sick or when he broke the idols. The consequence was that he did not worship the idols. In the case of the second one, the consequence was that he was saved. In the case of the third one, the consequence of lying to the Pharaoh, that he was not actually, lying to the king of Egypt, that Sarah was not his wife. He did not deny Sarah, but he did that for the sake of saving himself. And indeed, he succeeded in saving his life. So indeed, and all these things are extolled. Despite this, Quran refers to Abraham as Sadiq, which means the catchet of truth. He never lied. So Quran doesn't really consider these things as a lie. That then presupposes that, as our brother said, there are certain circumstances under which somebody can decide to lie as a way of protecting himself, of achieving a good laurel in life. Thus, sometimes the ethical value of an act could also be judged on the merit of the outcome, irrespective of what means is used to achieve the outcome. However, I said earlier that deontology has its own shortcoming. Deontology satisfies only an aspect of Islamic ethics. And for that reason, it falls short of satisfying the Islamic ethical point of view. Why? One, deontology only considers human acts autonomous of its consequence. We were reading some of these things when we started talking. Deontology considers human acts autonomous of their consequence. But the consequence of a human act also forms the ultimate basis of the act. Thus, with no respect to the consequence, human act becomes baseless. When you were coming to school, if you didn't have any motive, if you didn't have any end result, you are not expecting any end result. Why? How will you be able to carry your aspiration through? It's because you have a certain aim that you want to achieve, which you must hatch at the beginning of your education. From level 100 down to level 400. This is what's going to guide everything you do. So without this intention, without this aim, without this consequence that you are expecting to achieve, how will you expect to be able to execute whatever act you want to execute? Two, deontological ethics reduces all human acts to morality. As I indicated earlier, that every human being has the duty of becoming a morally upright person. But that is not really the case in Islam. Man was created and given the free will to either do good, to either do what is bad with the inherent need for punishment, or do what is good with the inherent means for reward. Morality is not compulsory per se in Islam. So if you make moral values a duty upon every human being, it means that if humankind has the absolute duty of doing only what is morally correct all the time, then from the Islamic point of view, what shall be the need for the judgment day or hell? Well, it has been a duty. So God didn't create you with any option at all. the only option is for you to be morally upright. But unfortunately, there are options. You have the option of doing good or the option of doing bad. Now, let us look at a critique of consequentialism as well. Consequentialism is ethically dangerous for its approval. Why? Because it approves that circumstantially, innocent people could be treated, even if badly, in a way the greater good of the society can be achieved. I've already looked at this earlier. Organ transplant. When somebody is noted to have an organ failure, one person has a kidney failure, another person has a liver failure, another person has a lung failure, another person has even a tongue failure. Another person has so many, almost all the organs in a human body can be transplanted. And one person has all these remaining healthy and indeed compatible to those of those who are sick. According to consequentialism, since we are saving more than one person, and it is good to save more people, so circumstantially, destroying one person's life for the sake of saving others is actually ethically correct. That is a bit of a problem. The question is the issue of intention and human judgment. Whatever you have intended is inside you. We don't know what you have intended outside your body. It is only you who knows what you intend at any material moment. So somebody will ask, how do we then judge people's intention? Do we leave judgment with God? In normal life, intention still manifests in our assessment. The consideration of the intentionality of an act has an impact on people's judgment of commendation and or disapproval of that behavior. Although more often than not, one could be blamed more than commended. The concept of intention reflects in many legal judgments, especially when it involves harm. So that when somebody engages in an action that leads to somebody being unalived, this in the normal face-to-face judgment is considered or is referred to as murder. And of course, you and I know that the punishment for murder is eye for an eye. If you kill, you will be killed as a punishment for killing. Then the punishment is execution. On the other hand, if somebody, this is what we call intentional killing. If somebody unalived somebody intentionally, the punishment is execution. Unfortunately, not long ago, the president assented to a bill which was passed in parliament, which for the first time totally removes the punishment of execution for crimes involving murder. So today, if somebody is misbehaving towards you and you think that there's a law that is protecting you, that law does not punish, does not kill people for killing. Anybody who kills you, he kills you free of charge. That person is going to be in prison to continue to even live on your hard-earned tax. After you have paid tax to the government, when that person kills you, he's going to be in prison. He can be given life imprisonment so that whatever contribution that you have made, the government is going to buy food for that person to eat whilst you have been buried and he is languishing in the prisons. So murder does not attract execution in Ghana anymore. Apparently, the clause of murder or execution had remained dormant in our statute books since 1993, when the last execution based mainly on politics was carried out. So since 1993, nobody has been executed in Ghana. So all those people who have been sentenced to death, occasionally you hear the president committing some of their punishments to life imprisonment so that they are off the hook of execution. But the point of significance is that when somebody commits murder, the punishment more often than not is eye for an eye, which is execution. When somebody kills and that killing was unintentional, for example, somebody is hunting in the bush, and then somebody, for some people, once they're holding a gun, when they see anything moving in the bush, when they see any part of the bush shaking, they just get their gun ready, pow, whether they have seen an animal or they have not seen an animal. Somebody is holding a gun, and then this person sees something shaking in the bush. He takes the gun, pow, and after shooting, he realizes that it is rather a human being who was easing himself somewhere in the bush. In all the cases, killing has taken place. But then, in the case of the one that involves unintentional killing, unintended, a killing that had not been based on physical intention, the so-called unintended killing, the punishment for it is what we call manslaughter. Manslaughter. And the punishment for manslaughter will be prison terms of usually about 80 years maximum. The first one represents intentional killing or intended killing, and the latter represents unintentional or intended killing. If it is intentional, the punishment is execution. If it is unintentional, the punishment is in prison terms. But in all cases, irreparable harm has been caused, and that is the reason why, even though the person did not do it intentionally, that person is still punished because somebody has died. And so you have to receive punishment for keeping a gun that is capable of destroying people's lives. We have about 12 minutes more. We are now going to touch another theory which links itself closely to what we call teleology. There's another teleological ethics or ethical theory. This time we call it utilitarianism. But before we go to utilitarianism, let me now listen to your what do we call it? Your clarification, your observation, your engagement with the literature, and interaction with the ideas we have been we have been promoting now within this 2 hours or even 3 hours or 4 hours this morning. Clarification, observation, disagreement. Any question? Any clarification, observation? Ladies and gentlemen, start reading the slides. Because if you have to pile all of them up only to read them when you have a quiz, when you have an exam, you will be overwhelmed by the outcome of that effort. Under such circumstances, when you even read, you will not understand. And that is the reason why, even till now, I'm wondering, I don't know how many people are in for the lecture now, but you see the relatively smaller numbers of people who attend lectures online. You understand that? And you wonder whether people really understand the slides when they read on their own. So in the end, if you don't tighten your belt, you may have to contend with just C, C plus, D, D, D plus, C, D, C, D. I mean, I don't think that is what you are in for. Unless truly you don't even know the reason why you are here. I wonder what is happening, what is going on. You have to read so that when we meet, you can engage me. You ask questions, we discuss it, not always coming to listen. Your training is targeting about 3 or 4 areas. One, reading. The training is targeting your reading skill. Two, your reasoning, level of reasoning. You understand that? Three, your listening skill. Listening. Listening. And then 4, talking. Speech. You should be able to also express yourself in a more mature way. So if you only come and do the listening and the reading cry, you don't even do it. You only wait until when an exam is going to take place before you read. I beg to differ. Your training will be defective. So please try and engage yourself properly, so that you can be more informed with whatever course you are doing. Read ahead of time. Spend extra time in reading and note down things that are of concern to you to clarify. Because the times that you just come and be at the background that you listen is gone. Try to always read and note down things for clarification. The WhatsApp platform that has been created is supposed to be created for discussion on the course. But interestingly, not just this platform, many a time students are dead on the platform. You understand that everything is so quiet until when there's going to be a lecture or when there's going to, the only thing you see people asking, past questions. And I wonder, the system has been so glued to past questions such that everybody is rather learning answers. But your training is not targeting provision of answers. You are expected to solve existing problems, not to find answers to things that are already there. When new problems come up, then you appear to provide solution. So the reasoning is more important. But unfortunately, everybody is targeting grades, which is not even, which does not even materialize. Because the insistence on past questions. What are past questions? Can I get past questions? And then they are learning answers to past questions. So even the same past question that they have gotten, if a question is tricked or twisted small, everybody is found elsewhere. Anyway, I'm still waiting. Any question, observation, disagreement, clarification? I'm waiting. We have just about hey. We have just about 6 minutes, which cannot really make us do anything. So if there's no question, there's no observation. Last week we decided to meet on was it Tuesday or so? I think Tuesday or Wednesday. Unfortunately, when the time came, I was found elsewhere, so we couldn't have it. So maybe we will have it the coming week on Tuesday. Did we agree on Tuesday or Wednesday?
No, sir, Monday.
Monday rather. Okay. Then we'll
Yes,
try
sir.
and see. We'll try and see if Monday we will meet to cover our 2 hours. We are actually on track. So we'll get there.
Yes, sir.
Monday we'll just meet.
After 2 days, we will have some lectures. So I think Monday.
Okay.
If Monday wouldn't be possible, I think we can consider Wednesday.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. That's fine. So please, if there's no question, then let us end here so that I can get preparation for your next lecture.
Thank you very much, sir.
You are welcome. So then note this. utilitarianism, so that when we come, whenever we meet again, we will know where to start. All right. Until then, I wish you all the best. Bye-bye then. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. So, Abushafo, that is it. I think Monday we are going to meet him at 6 p.m. Let's say 8:30. So, after he engages us Monday. So, if that one won't be possible, then I think the usual Wednesday will work, inshallah. So, let us take note of that.
Alaji, please, where did we end it?
Huh?
Where did we end it, please?
Uh, the lecture.
Yes, please.
Were you not on the platform?
I was. I left right now for something. That's why I wanted to see where we ended.
I also attended to something else, but I think I can. Let me see. I'm coming on. I'm coming. I think it was okay. This is what I saw on the screen. Uh, I think it was intention and human judgment, or utility. What do we call it?
Unitarianism.
Utilitarianism. Utilitarianism. This is what I saw
Uh,
Unitarianism.
on the screen.
Alaji is
uh,
Uh-huh.
Unitarianism.
no, okay, so that's where we
Utilitarian.
ended.
So
Chairman.
is it wrong spelling?
Yeah. Chairman,
Utilitarianism.
what do you see?
Remember maybe make it my wife. So
Mm,
that is it. Yeah, thank you.
all right.
I've traveled though, so I was just listening to the lecture.
Mm.
It started when I was in a bus.
Hey, so the rest, nobody was there too.
Huh?
No, I'm asking about the rest.
Uh-huh. So even what brought me to this place is now that I'm here to attend to it.
Mm.
But let's say by 1 hour time, I'll come back and join the next lecture.
Okay.
I think that one is 11:50. So by 12,
Yes.
12 something, I'll come back and join.
Okay.
Okay, goodbye.
Mm.
Because it can't smell. They look to me or what? Is it can't smell? Was it can't smell? And I can't say no. Then till we be one and a baby and a waka.